Good morning and welcome to DC. Luckily for you, we cooled it off. It was a little hot here last year. I will touch on some of the things that Jim said as I go through here about the support of this program in the office. But what I want to talk to today is how you can be ambassadors for DOE and how you can stay connected with DOE in the future, because we view you as vital to what we're doing in the future. This is basically, I sit in the Office of Science in the Department of Energy. There was just an announcement of a reorganization, so the Office of Science is going to be combined with the energy programs. So we'll essentially have NNSA and then the energy programs, and a third part of the department will be management and performance and management. So there was no sense putting up a DOE org chart. It's all wrong. But in the Office of Science, we basically have supported over 100 Nobel Prizes. One of the latest is Saul Perlmutter at LBL. But the important thing from the Office of Science standpoint is over 45% of the basic research in physical scientists is supported by the Office of Science. And we also have strong programs in biology and computing, which is the area that I sit into. We support over 25,000 PhD and graduate students through grants and programs like this. And we also have the largest collection of, a large collection of user facilities from light sources, spallation neutron sources, and the computers in the picture here. I chose to show the IBM Blue Gene Q, apologies to Jim Hack and Titan, because the Q represents a partnership between NNSA and the Office of Science and IBM. We funded the development of that machine, so that's just one example besides this fellowship of the partnership between the two offices. This is the org chart for my office, and I want to say currently Patricia Damer, who's the Deputy Director of the Science Programs, is also in an acting position like I am. She's the Acting Director of the Office of Science. If some of you were here last year, Dr. Bill Brinkman spoke, but when there's an election, a lot of time we have changes from political appointees, and this was one, and Bill retired, and I think has gone back to Princeton. But Pat Damer is now acting, which is part of what her duties are as deputy. And she's a very, very strong supporter of this program. I sat with her at a Senate briefing when they asked about it, and she spoke up in support of this program, trying to save it. And she's given us many of the suggestions that we are trying. I sit in the Office of Advanced Scientific Computing Research. We do basic research in computer science, applied math, and networking. We also have facilities. My real day job is the director of the facilities division. And there we have Titan, we have the Oak Ridge and Argonne Leadership Computing Facilities, and most of you are familiar with NERSC. And you would hopefully heard about those facilities yesterday at the HPC workshop. But the important thing on this slide is not where I sit, it's all of the other programs in the Office of Science. We have research in materials and chemistry under basic energy sciences, and biological and environmental research. They do, of course, biology, and that's where climate sets. Fusion energy is fusion, high energy physics, and nuclear physics. So we do have a broad set of a portfolio across the physical sciences. So I said what I really wanted to focus on is how you can stay involved, or perhaps if you go back and you talk to your advisors and your advisors is looking for funding, this is one way you can do it. We do a lot of, as you can imagine, with supporting 25,000 graduate students and 45% of the physical science in the United States. We have a lot of grants and contracts that we award. So I wanted to point you to this page because this is our funding opportunities. And as soon as I say this, they'll change the page, but normally on the left-hand side of the page is the are the announcements. We always have an open announcement that we can take unsolicited proposals. We have the Small Business Innovation Research Technology Transfer Program. We just released an announcement there. And I see Higher Energy Physics has an announcement. Oscar, I think Karen told me that their math announcement that we had open was closed. You can also go to our web pages, and I'll have that at the end, to see what opportunities we do. But this is a chance for you, if you know, there's a topic area that fits with your research area, your advisor until you graduate might apply, and then once you graduate, if you're in a college or university, a nonprofit organization or for-profit or commercial organization, or state and local governments, you can see we'll take proposals from anybody. We also consider employment at DOE labs. We still are hiring, especially computational scientists, because we have a big need for those, especially at the 3 DP labs and at the major labs that we have in the Office of Science. So you can see that we're spread out around the country, and you can see that we do hire over 32,000 scientists and engineers, and that number comes from actually from the chief research officers at the laboratories. Oh. And you know, if you don't want to do submit a grant, or you don't know anybody that would want to submit a grant, or you don't want to work for DOE, you're thinking about it. We also have the user facilities that I spoke about at the very beginning. We have everything from our high performance computing to advanced light sources, this spallation neutron source at Oak Ridge. We have reactors and accelerators. So if you're looking for a place to tie your simulations and look for experiments, we have a lot of experiments that you can go, big experiments that you can go and get time on. It's similar to what you do at NERSC. You fill out an application, you submit a proposal, and they get reviewed. The one thing that isn't on here is we don't have a connection to the Large Hadron Collider, which the higher energy physics community supports. And I wanted to just specifically, I know you had the HPC workshop, so I just wanted to repeat what I hope you heard yesterday, and that's how to get an account on my facilities. 10% of the hours are reserved for the center directors, so that they have, if you come in and you want to try something, you want to do a startup, that's how you get on. And all of their web pages have connections to this. We reserve anywhere from 5% of the time at NERSC up to 30% of the time at the leadership computing facilities for what we call the Oscar Leadership Computing Challenge. And those are for high risk, high payoff projects related to the department's energy mission, but it's also, we also use it to broaden the community of people that can use the leadership computers. Now, this program is unlike Insight in that it does not require any scaling. You don't have to use the whole leadership computing facility to get an allocation under the Leadership Computing Challenge. Normally, we review those projects in February for allocations in the middle of the year. 60% of of yours, of the allocatable hours, that should be at the Leadership Computing Facility, is for the innovative and novel computational impact on theory and experiment. And that's the Insight program. And that program is really the cornerstone of the Leadership Computing Facilities. This opens up those facilities to the world. And anybody that has the need for large-scale computationally intensive projects that address grand challenges problems from combustion to climate, materials research, I'm trying to think some of the others that we do. But normally these, to get an allocation to the Insight program, you have to be able to show that you can use at least 20% of the nodes on that facility. So this does have a scaling requirement because those resources are very, very precious to the people who want to use them. And I think we're always oversubscribed in Insight, where we have 3 times as many people wanting allocations than we actually have time for. 85% of the hours, because we only take 5% of the hours for ALCC, so we have 85% of the hours at NERSC are for Office of Science supported research. This is where, if you want to start through CSGF and use one of our facilities, this is where you start with NERSC. And I think Karen, raise your hand, Karen. Karen is our NERSC allocation manager for Oscar, so she should become your very best friend if you want an allocation on that machine. Now, so, this is primarily for, again, after you leave the fellowship, but for those of you who are still fellows, I'm sure you might know somebody in your department or your institution that you might know an undergrad that's looking for some place to go. Well, maybe you really liked where you did your practicum. Well, they can participate through our summer undergraduate laboratory internship, or SULI program, which provides support for undergrads to go work at our laboratories for 10 weeks. You can either go in the summer, or you can do a 10-week term in the fall or the spring. And at the same time, maybe you'd like your advisor to come and do some work after you've done your practicum. You think, oh, there's a natural connection there. Well, we also have a visiting faculty program where the visiting faculty member would actually contact a person at the DOE lab. They would submit a joint proposal, and we would provide funding, not Oscar, it's our workforce development area, would provide funding for the faculty member to go work at the lab, and at the same time they'll also supply funding for at least up to 2 students to go as well. So if you were there at a lab at a practicum and your advisor took advantage of the visiting faculty program and brought 2 students, you could actually have 3 students plus the faculty member there that would be supported. The other thing that both lab and academic institutions can apply for is our Office of Science Early Career Research Program, which is support for outstanding scientists early in their career, which within 10 years of receiving their PhD. Now, a couple of years ago, one of the former fellows actually got one of these, and I don't remember her name and I apologize, got an early career award from our biology program. This last year is the first time that Oscar's actually been able to award an early career, and that was to Krzysztof Fitkowski. And so he's our first CSGFer that's actually come through and gotten an early career program support from us, which to me is a plus for this program. I pointed out on the funding slide about Small Business Innovative Research Program. A couple years ago, in response to some information we've heard from people like the Council on Competitiveness and from a simulation workshop that then Under Secretary Coonan ran, that the trouble with small business using high-performance computing was the fact that they just don't have the software tools available to them that actually scale up or that's affordable. So we've added a topic to our Small Business Innovative Research Program area, and that's focused on increasing adoption of HPC modeling and simulation to advanced manufacturing and engineering. And what we're really looking for here is for industries to take the codes that have been developed through our SIDAC program or in our basic research and put front ends on those so that small business can use, say, our computational fluid dynamics code or other codes like that. The other thing that we find that companies are doing are building up small clouds, and one company has taken code from Berkeley that will model a building to figure out where you need to put the lights in a building, and so you can send your specification to that person and then they can do the calculations for you. So this is just one way that, you know, if you don't go into academics or you don't go to a lab and you go into small business, you can still stay connected with the Office of Science and DOE. And this is my next to last slide. Jim mentioned that we founded this conference. We started in 1993, and actually with the help of Lucy Kilmer and Shelley Olson found the original agenda from this. And interestingly enough, can you read this? Who gave the keynote speech at that? He's in the back of the room. Jim Hack was our first speaker. And he's still with the program, and many people are still with the program. So we've shown this slide before, Where Are They Now? And don't try and add this up. It won't add up to 100 because the 26.2% were at or are now at or currently were at DOE labs, so they're counted other places if they didn't stay. So what I did was take the people that spoke at that first conference and say, where are they now? And so you can see that we have people like Patrick Canup is at Joe Gibbs Racing, so doing, helping Formula One. We have Martin Bizantz at MIT. David Keyes, I believe it was Nicholas Jovanovic was your student back then as at University of Arkansas at Little Rock. We have folks at Numerics. But the important thing is back in 1993, NNSA wasn't yet supporting this program. They were focused on building, I think, the ASCII program or doing other things like that. But we had, of the people that spoke at that, 3 of them ended up and are still there at NNSA labs, which is pretty impressive. And we also have, besides industry, we have other government agencies like the Jet Propulsion Lab. Christy Lundy is at University of Missouri. She's in the government there. And there were even, people that became stay-home mothers. Now, I do want to report that none of them are still graduate students. So I think that's a pretty good representative of what we really hoped would happen with this program. And it was very interesting when I got this. And it just dawned on me. By the way, the first conference was in Minnesota, in Minneapolis. So this is the promised Oscar at a glance slide. I was at the SIDAC meeting yesterday, and they said, do you have a big announcement for us? And I said, yes, the big announcement is I'm still acting associate director. But our website is here, and I put the website for ALCC and Insight. You have to go to NERSC if you want to get their allocations.